Hiya peeps, good morning, good evening, good night. Somewhere in the world it's night, somewhere in the world it's day. So hello, how are you? Welcome once again to, it was normally called The Report, but it's called What's the Word because I have a panel of guests and I'm not outside anymore. But the way things are going, we might be outside, but anyway, that's a different subject. Let me start off today with someone in broadcasting. His name is Steve Allan. And now he comes on LBC very early in the morning, from about 4 till 6, 7 a.m. in the morning. He basically just chats for 3 hours. He doesn't take any phone calls. He goes through the newspaper. He has a style where he sounds authoritative, but it isn't that he's authoritative, it's just a trick how he speaks. He does make a lot of mistakes, but his team around him will tell him later on that, oh, this has been missaid or the information, and he'll quickly correct it. He always makes himself sound like whatever I say is almost, it will happen. And he's been a long time in showbiz, and sometimes he has a good handle for that. But half of his show consists of him actually putting down people and feeling that he has privilege and superiority. Characters like, what's the model's name who crashed the car recently and with a son with Dwayne White. What's the name?
Kate Price.
Kate Price.
Okay.
And Kate Price opposite is Jodie Marsh, and there's other women every now and then who would enter into show business, and he would not necessarily demean them. Well, actually, yes, he does demean them with his really snidey comment, and that's the basis of half of his show, and he's been doing this for a long time. Where me and him personally came into an interaction was when April Jackson, she's a winner of Miss Jamaica, was in the Allan Sugar Apprentice. And one of the things she said, April Jackson said, was that she went out with, what's that runner's name? Usain Bolt. And so he decided to go on his show.
Because I know who he's talking about.
Yeah.
So Steve Allan went on the show the following morning. I started to slaughter, oh, she's just a model and you know, she's got no talent. Now let me tell you about...
a bit like a chauvinist.
He is, right? Now April Jackson,
It's called London Chauvinist Pigs Broadcasting Corporation.
All right, oh, that's good. So April Jackson, so he went on and said, oh, she's entered the competition, The Apprentice, and she isn't talented, she's just a model and whatever, and she went out with Usain Bolt. Oh, her claim to fame is Usain Bolt. No, in fact, she's the winner of Miss Jamaica UK a few years back. April Jackson has actually presented, right, for me on camera, and if you go through my YouTube video, you see actually April Jackson actually holding the microphone, and we're at the Jamaican High Commission, right? But April Jackson, her family comes from the Swift money transfer, right? This is a middle class money family. The Swift Jamaican money transfer, they had many shops. Now this is April Jackson's background. Plus from that she was gonna, or she has opened up a shop in Brixton, a restaurant in Brixton, right? Now, I haven't made contact with her for quite a while. So listen to Steve Allan actually coming out with this tripe. And he does that to a lot of women he sees on TV who he feels are lesser, you know, if you come from the north or what have you. And I furiously went on to the internet and tweeted to LBC. I was a friend of his on Twitter, and I was tweeting him, look, she's got more talent than you in your whole body in her little finger, right? He blocked me. That's what he does. He actually blocked me, and that's my personal interaction. So he does that to a lot of women he feels so superior, or women who've just entered the business like models and whatever. He really has a go at them, and that's half of how he his show is based on. Now, where he's got into trouble recently is with the Strictly Come Dancing, and it's Gordon Ramsay's daughter. He decided to say, oh, she's oversized, and oh, she's been eating too much of her father's cooking. And then suddenly the press has already sprung up.
That's very outrageous. And really, he shouldn't be allowed on television.
No, he's actually on radio. He's on radio.
Or anywhere.
Right.
Radio, anything. He shouldn't be allowed in any media at all. Because none of us at work would be allowed to say that to anybody.
Right.
We wouldn't be given a reference.
I've also
we wouldn't be allowed to say that.
I've also realised in the early days also, right, now that slot in radio was done by James Max, who's now on Talk Radio. Now James was also a contestant in the Apprentice as well. So I'll follow James Max's career from 10 years. And if you go back to my Facebook, when he was on LBC, I was there actually promoting. I like him. James actually he was on this morning from 5:30 till 6:30 on Talk Radio. Now, Talk Radio is very, very hard to get. You can get it on the internet, but you can't actually get it on the radio. So James had that spot, and James is a very creative guy. And then from LBC, he moved to Radio London. He also works for the FT as well, Financial Times. Plus, he's got many things in finance and what have you. So he had the show before Steve Allan, right? And he developed it. He had a style that really was unique and still is unique, right, on the radio. Maybe sometimes a bit over the top, but I like him as a broadcaster. When it comes to my personal broadcasting experience, I have worked on radio at every single hour there is on that clock 20. So 5 a.m. in the morning, breakfast show, lunchtime show, evening show, 2 p.m. show, evening show, 6 p.m., 9 p.m., 11 p.m., 1 a.m. I've done the whole 24 hours on the clock, and each one has its own uniqueness when you communicate to an audience. But back to Steve Allan. So in the early days, he used to have a slight tint of racism to what he used to say. So if there was a couple of lads who were caught mugging, and you know, these guys who were steaming through trains and what have you, which everybody, you know, hates. But then he would add his distinct sting to it. Oh, you should hang them or take them out and beat them or what have you. And he's managed to get away with that. He may have had a certain amount of comeback from that. So he actually changed his tune a bit, and he made it. He actually convinced me that he actually liked reggae music, and he started to talk about Trojan Record and Harlesden and what have you. But guess what? When I was working 24 hours on radio, it was in Harlesden, right? I did go to those wholesalers. In fact, those wholesalers gave me the records, and I did the top 10, the reggae top 10. Like I said, I worked every single hour on that thing. But anyway, so he's got caught out, and that's the thing with Gordon Ramsay's daughter. So what do you think about, you know, people going on there talking about, actually it's called fat shaming, you know, and what are the kind of other shaming that, you know, can people really help it if they can't stop eating or they put on weight? What do you do? How do you help them?
I would say the first thing you do is you accept somebody. You don't put pressure. Anybody who is doing something to excess, it is as a reaction to pressure coming from some aspect or from every aspect or whatever. So it tends to make you overindulge in some shape or form. Even in your Steve Allan, there could be the fact that he's reacting to pressure, and how he's overindulging is nasty criticism. So it could be that so for me it would be, I would accept the person from where they stand at the moment.
Now that's
and then but you have to have time in order to be able to sort of understand somebody, but you don't add pressure. And I sort of think a lot of people, the first thing they want to do is to advise, whereas the person usually wants you just to listen to how they feel. And a lot of the time it really is an art form to keep your mouth shut.
I agree. It is an art form.
What about people who've got a drug problem or an alcohol problem?
Yeah, but
An addiction's an addiction, really. It doesn't matter what form it is, isn't
Food addiction?
it? Yeah,
And then the addiction can be a pleasure.
Yeah, and like she
pleasure.
said, even him criticising other people could be an addiction. Who knows?
I think it is in this case.
I do remember, right, being instilled in the 10 Commandments. A lot of them I disagree with, many of them I do agree with.
And all of them you're broken.
No, that's not possible.
Oh, thou shalt not kill.
Now, I would like to add an 11th commandment.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yes.
right, lovely.
Thou shalt not fat shame.
Okay.
I could talk about religion. In fact, it's not really 10
It's not
commandments.
even just fat shaming. I think in the Bible it talks about, I can't remember, I think it's James.
Lean-years.
One of the scriptures, it basically
Lean
says,
years and fat years.
it
I like them
basically-
both.
It basically says in the scripture that as humans we are able to tame animals, but the tongue is the hardest thing to tame.
Oh.
And I definitely agree with that. Like, it's an art form, like you said, to be able to keep your mouth shut. Because I just feel like, especially in today's age, everybody's got an opinion. Everybody's got something to say, and everybody's given themselves a platform now. Just like here, we have a platform to give our opinion and say what we think about other people's opinions. So it's just opinions on opinions on opinions.
Now that model who crashed her car and what's her name again? Now the reason why she crashed her car is because she'd been taking drink and drugs, and she did a couple of weeks in the Priory, and now she's out. So all the press is all over her because the press kind of like her. In fact, I've got a couple of clips of her as well on my channel, which I've done at a fashion show where she was at. She had just come back from Spain at the time. And so the thing in relation to her and in relation to people who are overeating, she has a drug problem. You know, so how do you handle people who've got a drug problem? How do you handle people who've got alcohol problem? How do you handle people who don't want to work? Problem.
If you don't have experience,
How do you have to
in these
handle people
problems-
that want to wear a crown on their head problem?
Oh, yeah.
Is she very sick?
Who?
The Queen.
I have no idea.
I think she's very sick.
Why did you say that?
They've cancelled all her appointments.
Yes, but you would cancel, depending on whatever. Those appointments are heavy duty in many.
So is the Crown.
ways. And she is an older, she's 90, whatever she
She's
is.
about 94. She's
Yeah.
about the same age as my
That's,
mum.
and if you're a professional woman when you're 94 or whatever, you're bound to, there's bound to be a moment where you are sort of sick and you can't, and you want to do something professional.
Maybe from
So you
4
have-
years ago, right?
Yeah.
I said that they should have she should have taken it easy. They were actually
Take it easy. What do you mean, step down?
No, just look. I could see it's an elderly woman, right? At that age, you take it easy. But they just kept on piling all of these things on her,
Yeah,
and she has to go over there. She opened up the Scottish Parliament.
Yeah.
Or was it the Welsh? She didn't quite, and she was meant to go to Northern Ireland. They cancelled that. She was there with there was a meeting with all the heads of state. She was there with her bare hands shaking. I'm thinking, oh my! But I'm sure she had plenty of gel advisors, right? So all of these things. I mean, what 90-year-old do they work that hard? They should have had her taking it
Do you think
easy.
she worked hard?
Well,
I would say
I'm sorry, that is just such a work hard. She goes from here to there, she gets carried everywhere, she pays no taxes. Like that is not hard work. And if she's still able, then yeah,
It's
she can get
specific
around.
work.
They carry her around. It's not like she's walking and hopping on public
I
transport.
like you said, carry
Flagging down
around like the
cabs
old
and
days.
stuff.
You know, you had the four people who
She's getting
used to.
carried, driven.
I know.
You know what I'm saying?
The image
She's
that
got
comes to
you
mind is
I
that.
prefer
And then she says only about 10 words when she speaks.
How do you do?
Yeah,
May-
you know.
may I
It's a
inter-
pleasure to be here.
May I interject
she's
with
a
an
very
important...
well-informed woman. I
I
think
don't
she's
know
a very
about that.
professional woman. I think she does it.
I don't
very
know.
May I
well.
interject with...
I may not agree with the monarchy, but in terms of how she conducts herself, she's a professional woman who does a good job. The
good
job
job
may
at
be in
what?
question. The job may be in question, but how she applies herself to the job, I think, is
I can't
purely
agree.
professional. And I have respect for her.
Professional? What is her
Even though
job?
I don't go on the monarchy, whatever. But I have a lot of respect for her.
What does
Right
her job
through-
consist of, though? That's what I'd like to know. Apart from signing a few papers, sitting there waving, wearing jewellery.
May I
But
interject?
it's the notion of
Do you know what I mean?
You started it.
Literally,
May I interject?
The country's run by the government, so she's not really having much say there. She signs a few papers to okay stuff, yeah. We know that. She does a few meetings, she goes, cuts a ribbon here and cuts a ribbon there. What is the work ethic? Can somebody tell me? Anybody?
May I interject at this moment?
What's the job description?
Congratulations to all you Barbadians, and congratulations
Oh yeah, they've locked her out.
to
You don't know that?
Sonia Mason,
The
who
president.
used to be the Governor General and is now the
Governor
President
General,
yes,
of
Barron.
Independent. I don't mean independent physically, because they were like that some time ago, but now they're psychologically independent.
Yes.
Let's hope that the government of Scotland will follow suit.
Oh, tell us the story about
You're only
Barbados.
independent
So you
if
haven't
you
heard
are
about it?
economically.
I kinda did.
So
But-
they've elected a new president and basically kicked the Queen out. Of
No
any
more
kind of
to
ruling
reign
to do with
over us.
Barbados.
God
She's got nothing to
save
do with the country,
Barbados.
Yeah, no, nothing. Independence, but just, yeah, they've cut her out.
Yeah, but real independence also is the underpinning is economics.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless you get your economics,
Yes.
you've only got pseudo independence.
Which
The
is
same
it?
as South Africa.
So whose head is on the notes now? Right.
The
Who's-
president should be. I don't know if the Queen's on there because I'm not from Barbados.
And then the judicial system is underpinned by the British judicial system. If there's one set of people that are more British than the British, it's the British.
yeah, it is.
I love you, my Bayesian friends. Oh, in fact, and in my early days, I had some friends who were loyal to me. It's like they would actually die for me.
Oh.
And we were really young, working in a factory, and these were really, really nice friends, even right up to now. Plus, I have a Bayesian. What would I say? He taught me the way. There's also a center in. Huh?
Yes, no, sorry.
Yeah. There's also a centre in Willesden. He was a cricketer. He's also a politician. What's his name? One in the 50s. It's a famous Barbadian, and my friend would always take me there, and I didn't really realize what the significance were. Oh, cuckoo, flying fish. Yes, love it. His name slipped me. He was.
Do you remember the time that the BBC presenters, even on the World Service, had great difficulty pronouncing these strange names that were not English?
Well, look, I've been trained.
Royal.
I've been trained so well, right, in the education system, that I too have that trait in me. Where,
Dost thou?
yes, that's that. It is.
Thou does.
It is so.
Well, I've got that. Oh God, really?
Now,
You're
No,
going to Shakespeare.
What are we
huh?
talking about?
We're talking
Yeah,
about
you've lost
this.
us.
No, this innate thing
The Queen.
of
No.
God save.
we're not.
when he mentioned the crown, he mentioned.
Don't shave her, save her.
No, we're
Ah, I like that one.
When he-
Don't shave her, save her.
When he mentioned the crown, he's talking about imperialism, right? And imperialism reigns through the Commonwealth. Actually, it's not the Commonwealth, it's called the Empire.
I was going to say the British Empire.
Exactly.
The land where the sun, now I'm not talking about Rupert Murdoch's sun, the sun never set.
Right.
The globe, the empire that brought civilization
Did it?
to 3/4 of humanity.
Who?
Did it?
I'm sorry, Ethiopia, you missed out.
Oh, he's being funny. I get him. Yeah. I get you.
Right. And so what we were saying about the pronunciation of foreign names, right? It's so much part of this systemic...
Bongo Lim.
There you go. Systemic, historical, right, and institutional. That when you go through the educational system, of course you take on board, you're in England, you take on board the trends, the traits, of what have you, so deep,
The culture.
right? The culture, right? So deep that you, let's say I'm an Englishman, right? And so I've taken on all, I could teach you about English culture. So much so because I've taken it on. And one of the things that consciously or unconsciously, they don't like pronouncing any name foreign, right? Even when I was at school, the teacher would say, what's his name again? You know, what? You know, and even younger, when I was younger, I was in school. Actually, it was a Welsh teacher, right? And I would speak very, very fast, or I'll speak fast. And the teacher used to turn around to another people and say, what did I say, right? And if you're of a certain age group, you those things you would have experienced. The other people in the class would probably take it as normal. And in fact, Graham, it was something you said last time about how we regress to the kind of 50s and 60s where you said something about calling a spade a spade.
Yes.
What did you mean by that? Tell us a little bit.
The offensive statements were very normal when I was a child. In fact, I remember, I think I was 15 or 16, and I watched with my grandmother and uncle, and we used to quite enjoy the black and white minstrel show, and it was quite normal in the unwoke days, in the days before political correctness and wokeness and kindness and tolerance and enlightenment, right? In the good old days, even the BBC, they would never dream of doing it now, of course, that hopefully, but maybe with the Tories in charge of the BBC, maybe little things like that will come back. I mean, Nadine Dorries might enjoy that minstrel show, bringing it back to the days of real sort of... so this is where the regression, and we're sliding back towards this sort of imperialism in all ways under our great leader.
Boris. Right,
so
now...
sorry, I went to interject. So what you're saying is you feel like this is kind of coming back in today.
I had an argument a couple of weeks...
You think it's resurfacing?
It's right there. I had an argument a couple of weeks ago with some white friends, and
I don't think it's resurfacing. I think it's always been there.
All right, but...
I wish to my main brothers, I know what the protocol.
Then, you know,
all right, so what
due to social media, I think it's always been there. I wouldn't say it's resurfacing. I think it's always been there, but I feel like due to the highlighting of social media and people having video phones, information, people are recording stuff. So even me, I had an experience last year in Clacton-on-Sea. I took my children away for a caravan stay for 5 days. And was told to go back on the boat where I came back from. I went, you mean back to London? So, you know, I don't think it's something that goes or, you know, something you just sweep under the carpet. It's something that's always been there. I don't think it's resurfacing. I think maybe there's more of a spotlight on it now because of social media and a lot of the education on racism and things are coming more into play, and some old stuff we've been enlightened on as well, like old information's resurfacing. So again, I wouldn't say no. I think it's always been there.
But this pandemic, now is racism an addiction?
Is it a pandemic?
Is it an addiction? No, that's a pandemic. That's a real pandemic.
All right, now, so if we use the same psychology as if somebody had a drug addiction or eating addiction, or like my friend said to me a couple of weeks ago, I'm going to call a spade, and why is it that black people get upset when we call them such as that?
We use these terms. What does it mean? Well, nonsense. What does it mean? You know, I want to call my hand. I mean,
it's a prelude to actually say that you're indirectly saying that you're a racist, and there is not a racist bone in my body. That tells me that you're a racist from the beginning to say that, and whatever you're saying is going to be offensive. But you think by negating it by saying I haven't got a racist bone in my body and I'm calling a spade a spade.
Oh yeah, I've got black mates.
What a meaningless statement.
It is meaningless.
Meaningless. What does that mean? It's first of all, it's called, right, a tautology, a truism, right? Well,
a spade is a spade.
Yes, and white is white. Well, yes. And that
white is not
chair,
white, because we
the
say
chair is a
people are
chair.
white, but this is white. And I could say his hat is black.
All right, you know that
so
term.
really and truly,
Look,
it's just-
underneath the see-through skin, right? Do you see the melanin layer, right? And that's responded to a certain amount of sunshine, right? But so really, what you're basically seeing underneath that is the blood.
Do you remember?
And the darker my skin would be, the less likely you could see the blood colour.
Do you remember when the National Front
It's
hijacked?
called science.
Do you remember when the National Front hijacked the Union Jack? And every time you saw the British flag, it was always associated with far right, far left extremists. And to such a point that some councils, that if you flying a flag out in front of your place, they'll come and tell you take it down. Because connotations have been attached to it, right? So it's not, look, the English language is really, really fantastic.
Brexit has the Brexit hysteria of taking back imperial control, this zenith of populist xenophobia has returned the old monsters back again, and they are being rehabilitated constantly. The things we thought were over are now coming back.
With vengeance.
Vengeance is mine, says the king.
I just don't think there's a comeback. I just don't think it was ever gone.
Man, it is.
I don't think it's a comeback.
But
I think that is being highlighted more now because of
A
things
return of
that
the
have-
oppressed?
No, it's not a return. It's just always been like this. I don't think people understand. People say overt racism, covert racism, whatever you want to call it, snidey racism. Like, it's always been there. Like, we've never kind of surpassed that. Where black people are still seen as equal, or we're still fighting Black Lives Matter, and then it's all lives matter. So, when you got movements like this still happening, how could you say it's resurfacing? It's just never been diminished. Like, abolition of slavery.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
yes,
I agree.
There was an abolition of slavery.
Yeah.
Yes, there was. But does racism still exist? Yes, it does. Are people still racist? Yes, they are.
But wasn't it a bit of progress?
Racism, or is it just inadequacy and inequality?
I think it's more than that. It's miseducation, and that's the biggest thing. What I think that's gonna kind of close this for people.
If the emphasis was more on education, you think
yes,
it would be...
because I feel like slavery is
imperialist education.
slavery
The one
is-
I learned.
slavery is taught.
I learned that the British were the most civilized people in the world.
Well, this is
And
a
when I
lie.
went home, I was told this by
This is a lie.
my colonized family with inferiority complex.
Yeah, but you learn to read and write. You can select. You can choose so many
That's
different
one
things
part
to
of
read
it,
from. You
but-
can reanalyze what you have learned. You
Of
don't
course.
have to
Accept.
sort of regurgitate everything that you learned.
That's
You
true.
have learned to. That is what you accepted, possibly, or you heard. But
Well,
Yeah.
I do remember.
Yeah,
I do
so-
remember
so-
not
I mean,
reading this in school,
the
but
very fact that-
I do remember reading that Irish children, right, under the British
I'm working
Empire,
up here.
in era, that's
Okay.
the 26 counties, were forced to speak proper English, and if they would have
When was this?
around them,
When was
they
this?
would have. I don't
How
know.
far-
I'm sorry.
How far back
I
in
can
time
study.
did you
I next time I'll actually
Yeah.
bring it with
No,
you.
no, I
but
know what
there
you're
they
referring
had a
to.
piece of wood, right, so I'm not sure. So you can catch me out on details.
I'm not trying to catch you
But
out.
they had marks, right, on them, and they would be punished and ultimately excluded for not speaking perfect English.
What you're talking about has very little relevance.
Oh, we've just celebrated 100 years of Northern Ireland.
Very little relevance.
The IRA, the
I
UDF,
see.
Yeah.
the bombings,
I see.
the Troubles,
Yeah.
the Gaelic language.
My name's Gaelic, by the way.
Right?
My
Do you remember last time we spoke about Bobby Sands and what it takes to protest? And all you've done, actually you've done more, but in the conversation you're saying you haven't got a TV license, Chazz too haven't got a TV license, and I said I couldn't starve myself just to lose a couple of pounds, whereas the starve. No relevance today.
And remember, Nigel Farage was embarrassed on RTE for going on there and he got £87. And he said, just because he was paid it without any knowledge whatsoever, the complete
Was it the good
arsehole, he said up the rah. And when he was presented it, right, because he was telling the people in Ireland to leave the EU because of their terrible oppression. And she said to him, you ignoramus know nothing about the history of Ireland, you're just a loudmouth. I'm going to show you a clip, right, which you did for £87, right, and I don't know if you'll remember it. And she showed him this, and he was speechless because somebody must have told him later what it meant.
Right. The Good Friday Agreement.
Is that ignorance?
Right.
I think so.
Right, the Good Friday Agreement. I remember when John Major nearly got blown up in Downing Street when the mortars was fired. I remember that day. It was a cold day. Even I wouldn't have gone outside. Right, so the Good Friday Agreement, right, and right now...
Peace is a long process. It's a long process. It goes through. It can't happen in a moment.
And right now...
There's only a certain amount of people that are always wanting war. There's only a certain type of people and a small amount
Almost
of people...
nobody wants war,
Whoa.
except the manufacturers who make
The
ammunition.
politicians that go to war, they know what they go to war for. But yeah.
And right now we have a massive problem because we haven't figured out where the border is with Europe and Ireland. Is it in the middle or is it on land?
Oh God! You
said it doesn't matter.
It
No,
doesn't.
It does.
absolutely. I did not say
Not
that.
to me.
But what
does,
I
it's
said
major.
was the significance of the learning English as opposed to using the Irish language.
Gaelic.
Yeah, that and being punished for it. That no longer matters. That specifically.
Did that
no
used to
longer
happen?
matters.
Tell us about that.
But don't you think
you probably know better than me.
don't you think the past
Can you
always
tell
has
me
something to do with
Of
the
course
present and
yeah.
how
Please
people...
educate us.
Yeah.
I need a bit of education because I only know superficially about this issue.
What specifically
So I'd
do
like
you want to know?
Well, I'd like to know how it was implemented and when it started, when it finished.
The beating of people, the children, in order to speak English.
No, this issue, because otherwise it's
I would say you could parallel that to a lot of different things that are essentially ignorant.
Mm-hmm.
You could parallel that to teachers forcing children to use their right hand as opposed to their left hand.
Yeah, that's true.
Those are sort of things that have been corrected, if you like. They still exist. But people are more knowledgeable
What
now.
about the
But in
scars
terms
and
of
legacy?
the Irish sort of situation, Ireland has its own. It is not attached to England anymore. It exists in its own. It is a republic.
26
England,
counties
Ireland,
are not
Scotland.
attached.
So that
England.
notion of sort of like being English being forced on Irish children or whatever. There are parallels all over the world, but it no longer has
religion being forced on
significance.
black people, Christianity.
It no longer has
Good
significance.
slavery.
Everybody in Ireland is happy to speak English. Everybody. There isn't a
That's
person
what
in
they
the
were
whole.
forced to.
Yeah,
But they're happy with it now.
Yeah, and you learn Irish.
They were
as well.
forced in the beginning.
You learn
But they're
Irish,
okay
but that
with
was
it
a
now.
long time ago.
But they're alright with it.
But
so it's okay.
absolutely, everybody, you wouldn't find a
Did you hear
single
that?
person
They're
in
okay
the whole
with it
of
now, so
Ireland
it's okay.
who is not happy to speak English.
One of the most outcast
English ain't even
group
English.
of
How about
people.
that?
Particularly Oscar Wilde.
is
English ain't
actually
even English.
the Irish
The
travellers.
Ballad of
They're treated worst of all by everybody.
Newgate. The Ballad
The
of
Irish travellers.
Newgate Prison.
What about them?
They're
Why do you
treated.
think they're treated bad? I don't think they're treated bad. I disagree with that.
Oh, they are. They are.
Yes, let us hear.
Well,
the
they're
military.
given land to put their caravans on.
Really?
No, they
You
never.
mean
They
people
probably-
like that are
they
given
never-
land?
They've given,
Really?
their government have given, there's a few
Oh,
spots around
goodness
Hackney
me.
where they've given them where they have their caravans parked, and I can assure you.
Nigel, you
Oh,
heard
In
that?
Hackney,
All
there
right.
are plots
She
where,
agrees with you.
where the government has given them to,
Yeah.
to live.
They are.
And-
Oh, and they're not grateful.
treated
Every
like
time-
badly. They don't pay no tax, they
Oh.
don't pay no rent. So good on them for that. Not
Yeah.
Every time I
judging
pass,
it.
I see the police out there.
In my street,
What happens? They see police out there.
If you don't
Police are
like
everywhere.
it in this country, go back to Rajasthan when you first left in 1200
in
and
my
made that long journey like refugees through Europe and North Africa to come over here, right, and upset King John in feudal England. What? Yeah.
Now, do you find, right, with this pandemic, right, that people's civility is only a thin,
I like the word civility.
a thin skin, and under it would unearth that racist. Under it would unearth that woman hater. Remember the policeman who killed the woman the other day? We still haven't. Women still don't know what to do, right? When the police come up to them.
Just run. Just run for your life, love. Call 999. That's what they tell me.
Still has not been resolved.
Look,
Say good morning, officer, or good afternoon, officer.
Look.
And stand there.
I think Tessa Daly could probably actually literally get away with it.
But the thin veil of civility out there. I mean, have you guys come across it that the traffic people out there, like even on the buses, the trains, the shops, it's just a thin layer. People are ready to express themselves, their racial hatred, their, and also people are also emotional as well, because they came out in large amounts for George Floyd, the Black Lives Matter. They came out and still the process is still ongoing about the woman who got
But
killed.
remember, there are good people on both sides. Well, I don't know nothing. I'm not political.
That's a
I
reverse
just know
joke.
that
That's a reverse joke.
because I just know that these people are causing lots of trouble. They're very disruptive, and I don't know all these things. Because you've got this and you've got that. I just like the Queen. I don't understand
Sounds like one of
politics.
those people-
I just think there's too many foreigners. But I'm not political.
Yeah.
And back to the Queen. Okay, I think she's very sick. Okay, her husband passed away.
So what does that mean?
When the Queen dies, do you think the empire will fall?
I think it should, because I
certainly
think that the empire is useless. I don't know why we have one. To be fair, we still haven't, defined her job description, what it actually entails, if she even does have one. So yeah, I feel like the whole empire, the British Empire, the whole Queen thing should just die out now. I think that's
What do you think about Henry VIII?
Is the
I don't
fact
think nothing of
I mean,
him.
do you think he's had a bad press? I mean, he might have been quite a nice guy, really.
He killed like 4 of his wives, or 3 of them at least.
Yeah, but they might have.
He
I don't know.
beheaded
They
them.
might have.
What did he
I
do
don't know.
to the
They
French one?
might have committed
I can't
adultery.
remember which one.
What was the French one?
But this is a story that really stands out for me, because for some reason I remember studying it in primary school, and it really, I don't
He
know,
was the first
it was
Brexiteer.
really intriguing to me, the whole Henry VIII story. He had so many wives and beheaded them, and
Polygamy.
I don't know, it's a still of that time. It's a very talked about story of is it the Tudor times or the Stuart times? One of the two. I think it's a Tudor times. No?
Hampton Court is his palace, isn't it? I went.
So it's I
And
don't know. It's quite a fascinating story. I don't know why it's still to this day.
They make very nice architecture.
Yeah, Hampton Court Palace, and it's got the maze in there. You can get
Alright.
lost in the maze,
Have you been there?
Yeah, I have. I have. And funny enough, they
What, the
got
maze of imperialism? Get lost in it?
Yeah, well, I didn't go.
No, I digress, my dear sir.
They've got a room in there
Well
which got Chinese artifacts, right?
Why would they have that?
Well, I would believe back in them days,
Those days.
Those-
Them days.
those days.
Those days.
Old chap.
Thank you.
a young chap,
Yeah, thank you.
right? They used to send gifts. You know, the rulers and empires and stuff used to send gifts to each other. You know.
I mean, that
maybe some of
still
them-
goes on. That still goes on between governments and government.
Well,
officials.
now the
But they
MPs
have an honorary
Some things were
certificate,
stolen,
you
weren't
know.
all given.
Yeah. Now the
You
MPs
know.
have to declare the gifts.
Well, which
Quite
they
right.
should. Which they should. Declare them, yes.
Yeah.
But then it's interesting that the ex-prime minister got £137 million for getting somebody the contract to, and then the company went bust.
Wow, people's kids at home. are
Allegedly,
starving.
you've got,
And at
you've got
school, for
allegedly.
school dinners, and they don't want
Allegedly.
to pay for children's school
Yeah.
dinners. This is disgusting. And this is the thing, it's just like, I just feel like we're way past a society that needs to be governed or ruled by a queen or empire or the government. I just feel like we should be policing, self-governing
Ruled.
ourselves.
Now, this is one for Graham. Oh, this is one for everybody. Do you know that, like the police force and in the army, and certain people when they graduate, probably the Secret Service, I herefore swear that I serve
Protect and so, yeah.
the Queen, but if the Queen is dead, was it? The Queen is dead, long live the Queen. Well, no, who's going to replace? Is it going to be
There's not
President?
going to be no replacement of her as well because her Charles is too old, and apparently Harry's already stepped down, and William has been told to kind of go quietly as well.
And what about the other one who's a fugitive?
Who? Oh, the son.
Andrew.
Oh no, he's going to go to jail. He's going to jail. We already know he's going to jail. They're trying to spend all the money they can to protect him, but he's going to jail. Yeah, he was in cahoots with Einstein, doing stuff from the island that
Epstein.
they should not Einstein, whoever he is.
Einstein, not Einstein.
Einstein, whatever we call him
did-
today.
Einstein didn't do things like
He's in
that.
cahoots with those
I
people doing wrong stuff to little children, so he deserves to go to jail. And because obviously he's part of the royal family and they've got money, let's see what happens.
Do you believe the Queen ever did have power?
Yeah, but I don't think she
Power to
has now.
influence, yes.
Power to, yeah.
Okay, give me an example.
I don't think she has as much power as she used to now, as maybe her earlier reigning days.
Do you know what I believe? She never did, right? She's only there for some ceremonial purpose.
Yeah.
I love looking at her reading out the Queen's speech at the opening of Parliament. And she does it with this disdain. Is how I believe. My government and I.
Her government.
Oh, well, however she says it. In this term, make sure that all kids would eat. She's never written a speech.
Yeah, they just,
Right.
you should just, yeah.
She's only there for ceremonial purpose. And when I said they've worked her and
Well, it's sort
She's
of
tired. She needs to retire. That's what she need to do.
sounds like she might permanently retire.
She need to retire. She tired. She look tired.
But you know what's amazing? When Cromwell took it away from the monarchy, the power from the monarchy, and then the parliament.
Yeah, it was the period of time where there was no royalty.
Funny enough, that was called the Commonwealth.
Cromwell.
The Commonweal, they called it. That's where the word Commonwealth comes from. Commonwealed. That was at the time of the Republic, Cromwell's Republic.
Right, and so I think from that time to now, they had some kind of an agreement. Okay, you can have you'll be there for ceremonial, but not any sort of power. Do you remember? You know what happens to Prince Charles every time he
Charles the First.
No, this current one.
Oh,
Prince
sorry.
Charles.
The card one.
Right, every time he steps forward and he says something political, have you realized they come down on him like a ton of bricks?
So what did he say this time?
I don't know. They only limit him to
you mean like Jeremy
monstrous-
Corbyn? They come on they attack him like they do Jeremy. It's the same sort of. Is it? He seems to be very upset by it.
Who, Jeremy or Charles?
Is he not allowed to speak? Has he been? What's this lovely word? Has he been? What's the word? Not silent.
What's the word?
They use this nice word.
Kind of
cancelled.
Castration.
No, cancelled.
Castrated.
The cancelled. No, the right way on GB News, you'll hear about the people who are not woke being cancelled by some magical forces that doesn't have power.
Do you know I took it?
Maybe in university, in a student union or something, or somewhere in space.
Do you know I took 2 hours of GB News last night? I watched it, right? And
what time was that?
Like from about 3 till 5 in the morning.
Oh yeah, well that's the time I was going to say to watch the news because that's when you actually get real.
There's nothing else. There's nothing else.
The World Service
The
is on through the night, and the World Service is very, very good.
The what?
World Service.
Oh, the World
World
Service.
Service it can be seriously.
It can be good.
Al Jazeera
After
news.
It can
No,
be.
If you're watching news, it's Al Jazeera
Al
news.
Brilliant.
Have a look at that.
Russia Today can be good sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Al Jazeera is wonderful.
Is one
Yeah.
thing
Lovely,
that I'm
yeah.
That's
sorry
real.
that I don't
Lovely.
have a TV license.
And sometimes we on from
Yeah.
India can be quite good.
Oh, I think I've seen that one. Yeah.
Yeah, but Al Jazeera.
Is that the
I
one with
would
the women?
best.
The woman presenting it.
Woman presenting it.
Yes.
Very
But-
good.
Yeah, I've seen through that.
But
She is
listening
good.
to the World Service, there is information that has depth to it.
It's like.
And I also like Novara Media. I'm going to plug them. Novara Media.
Countries, whatever.
Okay.
Novara Media.
And it's
Brilliant. Real analysis.
It's worth listening. I mean, it's seriously worth listening to.
The World
And Double Down News.
The World Services, right? I mean, all right.
I mean, it covers science. It
No, I know,
covers politics,
I've listened to
covers
it.
humanity. It covers lots of different sort of things. But in serious depth.
No.
By contrast to
As
lots
much as
of
Al
other,
Jazeera.
in the same vein.
Oh.
In the same vein.
Oh, have you
In the
seen
same
Al
vein.
Jazeera as well? Okay.
Yeah. I think
You watch Al Jazeera?
That's
Yeah,
the
I
only
do-
thing that
I do
I
have
miss
respect
by
for
not
the
having
World
TV.
Service, yeah.
It's not having.
I think they haven't been.
I try not to watch any
They
news.
haven't been Toryfied. I don't know how they managed to escape it. Really,
Who?
it's strange. The World Service. I don't know. First, they haven't
So
been.
you're in favour of something. At long last, you're in favour of something.
They said they haven't Toryfied it yet.
They haven't Toryfied it yet.
coming.
Let's hope it doesn't
Graham,
happen.
Wow.
It's still a liberal.
Oh wow! I've hit on something. There's something you're in favour of the World Service, because generally speaking, listening to everything that you say, you pick out the things that are a sort of disaster.
I'm not.
Rather in
I'm
favour
really not
of.
very good at sycophancy, but I do try to be. I do try to be balanced in my own way, but I don't really. I think there's so many sycophants around that it would be a very boring if we were to just just all sing Rule Britannia together, or anything else. I mean, that we all think the same way.
All right, let's
It's
get.
not going to happen anyway.
All right, let's get personal now, individually, right? So starting with May, what kind of media you like? You mentioned the World Service, and tell us a little bit about it, because you've got some fans out there who now wants to know a little bit about you. So you tell them about sort of the media.
I have to make an absolute huge apology to the media that there is so much media around whatever that you can select the best and the worst of, and through personal sort of idiosyncrasy, if you like, I'm probably divorced from almost all of it.
Divorce from reality?
No, I'm not in the slightest bit divorced from reality. My reality would I probably have chosen my reality, which I don't find sort of narrow in the slightest. But I'm an outdoors person, and I meet a lot of all sorts of different sort of people that I enjoy, or that I find I'm happy to sort of pay attention to. And I read books.
And you get
and if you can extend the media, I suppose, to sort of galleries and sort of art centre stuff and all that.
Have you seen anything interesting recently at the gallery?
The last thing that I sort of went to just happened to be up the road, and it's a tiny little gallery that lots of people aren't even aware of. Oh God, it's called the Historic.
Okay.
It's in Highbury.
Yeah, but what was
it's a little house, and they had an exhibition of it was sort of textiles, but it was this architect in the 1920s or whatever, an architect and engineer and all sorts of different sort of things, and he all his friends were artists and whatever. And he got artists to do designs, and then he reinterpreted those into textiles and reinvented machinery in order to be able to reproduce sort of stuff at a reasonable sort of price, so that people could have seriously nice textiles affordable for the majority rather than the minority. And it was absolutely brilliant exhibition. It was small. It was energizing. That's probably the and the Barbican. The Barbican has absolutely wonderful stuff. The Barbican is the best ever.
What recently?
You know, when you ask me a question now,
you stumbled.
The last day, it was okay, well and truly dead. The buffet. And
buffet.
The buffet and
buffet.
The buffet.
The buffet or the buffet, whatever you.
The buffet.
Yeah, and what was really that was an exhibition really well put together.
Okay.
And what was interesting was his early drawings. And the freshness and the creativity that you often get as a surge when somebody is beginning or in their 20s and early 30s, and then they can over-polish their style a little bit as it sort of goes along. So being able to see an exhibition from the beginning of somebody's career to when they died, so your criticism is within the framework of that person's presentation. That's what makes something very interesting, because you can see how they have changed and how they have retained the essence of sort of something. That's the beauty of London. London's full to capacity so you shouldn't really have time to listen to sort of rubbish when there is so much. I agree. And my apologies to media because I don't use all the different stuff that I completely applaud. I think it's wonderful. But time, there's only so much time.
And Chazz, what's your media? You make a guess. New media, Facebook.
Right, I'll be real. It's
What's that?
social media for me. That's where all my information comes from, and that's where most of my news comes from. Me personally, I look up from like news channels for a while. Sometimes maybe I'll catch the news if I'm at someone's house, but I'm not a really TV person, to be fair, so that kind of goes in hand with the stuff that comes on TV. I suppose.
Are you an Instagrammer?
I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok. I do not
TikTok, tell me about TikTok. I don't understand that. Tell me.
I don't use Facebook anymore, that's quite old.
Yeah,
older people
I'm hearing there's a demographic change. Tell me about TikTok. What's the beauty about it?
For me, TikTok, I think out of many of the social media platforms, this is a different platform because it's like you can almost find any side to TikTok. There's like a cultural side, a spiritual side, an educational side, a money making side hustling, that anything you want to find out. It's almost like, to me, Google of social media. That's how I can put it. If you want to find certain people or a certain group of people like cooking or whatever you like, making small businesses, a lot of people promote their small businesses on TikTok. There's ways for people to make money on these things. I think.
Grammarly
And not only that, the information that comes through, a lot of people report news, like they might record something off a TV screen or a movie and put the video up on TikTok. So
What about these challenges they have? Is it TikTok challenges?
oh, I don't get involved with those.
I
I don't get involved.
I saw somebody had taken it from TikTok, and it was the challenge about the crates.
Oh god, that's
Right.
a bit old now, yeah, but I remember
Right.
that.
And so they had a funeral. Somebody had died,
Oh god.
and they had some crates around the coffin, indicating that was one of the crates.
Oh, that's why you died. That's why you died. Yeah, I feel like some things, like you see things like that, I don't tend to indulge in because I just feel like May said, there's so much things that you can teach yourself or learn that might be of some value to you or your life, rather than doing dumb challenges that might get you killed, like, or hurt.
So what for you is hot at the moment with TikTok? What's the buzz? Is there something? Is there a craze, a phase?
I don't think it's. I just think that it's a very informative platform.
Okay.
In the sense of all senses, education, people starting up businesses, advertising businesses, cultural, Black history stuff if you're into that. And again, it just depends on the kind of people that you follow. Because if you into certain things, it's like with TikTok. This is what I like with TikTok. It's got an algorithm. So whatever you watch more, it will show you more of. So it's like one day I might watch a lot of educational stuff in general, and it will keep showing me more of that. It seems that that's what I'm interested in that day. So it's got the algorithm works with your own interest, and it helps you to find more of that easier.
Yeah.
Wow.
If that makes sense. People use it for a lot. People do music on there. There's lots of different things. People, do little podcasts and share informations on things that they have opinions on. So yeah, it's a different platform for different people.
Would you say it has an age demographics on it?
No, I think that's. I kind of felt like that in the beginning. I was like, oh, maybe I'm a bit old for this. There are many sides to it. Obviously, there's a side for younger people. There's a side for mid-age people, and there's a side for older people. So I don't feel like there's many older people. I've even seen grandmas on there doing TikToks. I'm like, whose granny is this? Come get your granny. So if an elderly person knows how to work it and can make videos and put up on TikTok, then it's for everybody. I'd say.
Graham, what's your media?
That was interesting.
Thank you.
I don't know anything about social media. I got nothing to say about it one way or the other.
But what's your media? Theatre? Do you go theatre? Do you walk in
Theatre.
the
I
park?
love theatre.
You don't? What do you see? Well, tell us a good play.
I love theatre.
Where's the theatres?
Pandemic's taken a lot of this away, but one of the nicest theatres I've been to was the Alcola, a people's theatre
that's still there,
it's moved. It's now in Dalston.
And
And there's other fringe theatres, like the Bush, and there's
Well,
other theatres that are ones that are of pubs like the White Bear, and I found them to be affordable and fascinating
What else did you
and cosy.
What else did you see at a cola? If you can remember.
Well, actually, I remember something which really is which I really enjoy and I would like to promote. It was called a progressive form of theatre called Forum Theatre, and I don't remember exactly what the play itself was, the name of it, but that's actually less important than the unusual style. Now, in Forum Theatre, for instance, right, you perform a role, right? Say there's the conflict within the marriage, right? And then it stopped. People freeze, and somebody in the audience is asked to come out and then resolve that. And then and say what and they would do in that situation, and so on and so on, and then at the end of it, there's a sort of general discussion, and I find that kind of that sort of very interactive style is quite fascinating. I think that that it was created in the 1960s by a Brazilian playwright.
Oh, not the, but isn't there a lot of
I forgot his name.
isn't there a lot of therapy?
Arcola.
Okay,
And
yeah.
yeah, that's one. But obviously, that's.
But I know some people do dramas and theatre for therapy. Have you come across?
Well, your drama is therapy. Theatre is therapy. Dance is therapy. Music, singing, and art, and creative writing. These things are all therapy.
All right. So
What we're doing is a kind of therapy with a kind of maybe a more universalist sort of thing to it.
Okay.
But it's still in an interaction, and it's.
Okay, I hear you. All right.
Hopefully it's not one way. Hopefully it's it's moving.
Okay. Now we could continue, but I'm just going to spend 1 minute and then we're going to sign off because Chazz is looking at the clock and time is running out.
Yeah.
So my media. So when I'm at home, it's like a bat cave. I got News 24, Sky News, CNN, ABC.
Really?
Yeah.
What about Fox News?
Or what at once?
Sometimes.
Fox News.
Right. Europe.
Get the truth. The truth.
I got France. I got the French channel. I got the Euro channel. Actually, I don't watch them all at the same time. If they said, oh, Italy's got such and such, then I'll go to the Europe channel and see what they've said. And then I've got the print media. Now the print media are fantastic now online. There's one called the Daily Mail, and somehow they've managed to take it over. And every single broadcaster, whether it is radio, oh, by the way, I've got radio on as well. Right?
Oh, okay.
Remember, I got LBC,
Yeah.
and then I've got talk radio, which is a bit difficult to get. Oh, BBC Radio London, Vanessa Feltz, right? Oh, Radio London has changed up its format, because usually at 10 o'clock in the morning it goes to a kind of a magazine type program about facts about London. It's gone into talk as well. I've actually haven't tuned in and see what their programming is like. Oh, by the way, I was also in and out of Radio London studio many times with my good friend Alex Pascoe.
I find that kind of the talk radio and the LBC. I try to listen to it to understand things from all different points of view and that, but I got so sick of the constant stream of bigotry, and anybody that said anything intelligent was cut off.
Yeah.
So I stopped listening to it, even though there was some. I must say there was on a rare occasion there's a tiny bit of balance, so you might have some quite progressive people and that on it, but generally speaking it's awful. I mean, it's full of Katie Hopkins and Nigel Farages and Farinis and bigot. Oh, the big loud now Foxification. Foxification before Fox.
Yeah.
It's like a pre-Fox.
Well, it's funny, we come right the way back to the beginning, because remember I started about one of the presenters on LBC. Remember, I did my piece. All right, so as I was saying, to kind of round up. So the Daily Mail now is the kind of online, it's got a fantastic presence, right? And literally as the story is breaking, right, they will actually have the update. So I will look at the update and I'll look at the TV, and they still haven't got the update, but in the next hour, they will have the update. Or by the following day, whether you get the Metro or the Evening Standard, you get the update of the story in those papers. In fact, the following kind of day. So, but the other part of this Daily Mail online, it's actually soft porn.
Oh.
Because what it is now, especially the Kardashians, what's the name, Kardashian, you know. So anything she does, there's pictures, right? Anything J-Lo does, there's pictures. Anything that the model who crashed, there's pictures, right?
I just don't see celebrity news as news, sorry.
What's her name?
This is celebrity news.
Right, today I was looking at some pictures of an actress, I forgot her name, and she looked rather a little bit
Scary.
Yeah, but
Halloween's coming.
yeah. And so any opportunity. So any young girl out there, any what do you call it? In the media, what do you call those people with millions of people with their Instagram? What do you call them? Influencers.
Okay.
Any influencer who's risen up.
Like us, influencers.
Not yet, not quite yet. We don't even get the hits. We don't even get our.
I-
We don't even get our friends to look up what we're doing.
I managed to
Listen,
I
I'm an
managed
influencer
to
in my
influence
own right.
myself.
I don't know about y'all, but I know what I am.
You're edging.
I have it.
You're
I
edging there.
Mate, have I influenced you?
No.
There's your answer.
You can't even influence the people on the panel.
But Chazz has.
Oh, see, thank you, see.
But no, you haven't.
I'm not going to
Don't bring your day job, love. Don't bring your day job.
I'll put it differently. Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Not
Still
yet.
got
Now you
chance
work on
to
it A
shine.
little bit more.
And on
You
that,
have amused me. You have entertained me.
amused.
Yeah.
We are amused.
we are not amused.
Yeah,
Not
you have
amused.
We are
entertained
not amused.
All right, let's get with the times. We may be amused.
Nobody mentioned the Times newspaper.
No, you definitely amused me.
All right, listen, that was fantastic. Panel, thank you very much. We're going to
Thank
say
you.
goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye
Bye.
bye. Bye bye.